Throughout this title, we emphasized many times how important it is to make as much as you can the things dynamic, and this lecture will dedicate to making things more dynamic and more reusable. So let's jump right into it. Alright, let's continue and complete our footer, and really to do that we need to make this area dynamic as well. So let's jump right into it. We got a lot to do. So first of all, I was thinking it through, and one of the problems using the key value is that key is a reserved word. Now, why is that important? Whenever we're going to send those properties, as we were sending dynamically throughout the last lectures, we want to be able to set things dynamically. But this key property will not be available to us because once we're inside, the key will be captured and won't be accessible to us through props. So instead of using key, I'm going to use name. Not the best name, no pun intended, but this name is going to be more useful. Now, one more thing I want to change is that I'm using here URL, but for our portfolio model, I was using a link. So let's just keep a standard, and I'm going to go ahead and change that to be link as well. Okay, now that I have that set and my data structure is set the way I've wanted it to be, it's time to go into our footer and really into our complex footer and start making it less complex. Now, in first look, the first thing that we could do is extract out these structures, and these structures are perfectly fit to be their own component. I'm going to call this a social link because really these are all social links. And again, I don't have to have the most brilliant name, mainly because this is all living within our, basically it's within our footer. We're not expecting to extract it, although we're using it in this case. Okay, so social link extends React component. Let's just copy all that good stuff, all those basic good stuff. Close this baby up. Close this baby up, and let's go ahead and just grab one of the items. I'm just literally just going to chop it right out and put it right inside here. And we don't need all the spacing anymore because it's a smaller component. So here we go. So this is our item. Now, what of these items needs to be dynamic? One is we wanted to change this Facebook item area. And next we wanted to change the link. So the link part, very easy. We're going to go ahead, set here to be the this.props.link. Right? That was the name that we gave it inside of our client right now. The next is our property here. So really, I'm going to go ahead and just to make it life a bit easier, I'm going to create a new let. I'm going to call it class name, and I'm just going to assign into it the value that was here before, but replace the ending to be the ending of that this.props.name. Simple enough. Now I'm going to take that and assign that value instead of the string that we have here. And here we go. So we set ourselves our class name. We've just created our basic rendering function for our social link. It's time for us to go into our complex footer, and in our complex footer, start rendering these items out. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these list items because we're going to have them render in dynamically, and we're going to send them in through a variable. So let's go ahead and, again, let's call it a let children. And I'm going to go ahead and set that as an array. And I'm going to go ahead already immediately in my UL here. I'm going to just replace this whole area with open close bracket and just send those children in. So our children are going to go right into our element that we're creating. By the way, we don't need these leftovers here. So let me just go ahead and delete that. We don't need it. And I'm going to go ahead into our let, and let's go through and let's let our children come to life. So I'm going to go ahead and create another for of loop, that new beauties of ES6, and I'm just going to give it a name of an acronym for our social link, and I'm going to say of what this.props.content. What do we want to do with each content element? I'm going to go ahead into my children, and I'm going to push into there a new social link. Now, if I go ahead and I send the social link, really all I have to do just to get it, the basics to get it to work, it's self-enclosed, and I'm going to go ahead and just type here that beautiful new thing that we just learned, the spread, the JSX spread, and I'm going to put here what value. So I want my SL to be sent through this object. Now, what is the object? The object is basically this. So every round we're going to be sending one of those objects inside, looping through, creating all those social links. Once they're created, we're going to have an array of those children, and we're going to pass that into our UL. Now, if I go right away and test it out, we're going to see that it is working, it's rendering, but I'm getting a warning. And the warning that I'm getting is relating to the fact that we need a unique key to help React identify whenever there are changes. So whenever I'm putting dynamic elements, I really need to put a key as well. Speaking of why we changed the name to be key, because we wanted that name to pass through all the way up here. And in this case, I could go ahead and say, take that SL name and treat it to be the key as well, because we know it's a unique item that is not going to be repeated. Once we've done that, we're not going to get that error anymore, and everything is going to continue running smoothly and beautifully as it did before. In this lecture, we really focused on the importance of making things dynamic. In the next lecture, we're going to go ahead and also wrap up our thoughts on reusability as we explore default values.